JohnMohnacheff, welcome to Broker Room, mate.
Yeah, Mark, good morning and thank you for having me. Lovely to be here.
All right, so I'm good, mate. Good. And I've been interviewing a number of people on our panel, various other well-known people in our industry. We're trying to introduce lenders to the broker world. We're also trying to introduce the people like you behind the lenders to the broker world, and probably get some insights from you to our brokers out there in the community who are dealing with all their borrowers. So everyone knows that Liberty has been around a long time. I guess it's fair to say that I assume Liberty is still controlled by Sherman Ma.
We became a public entity in December of last year, Mark, as you know.
Yep.
But certainly, the ownership is, very much in that, existing cohort of Sherman and holding companies. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you guys have been around a million years. I remember Sherman, or I remember Liberty going back to the Wizard days, and he's probably
Correct.
been around as long
Yes.
as I've been around in some respects.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever met him actually, but has a reputation that precedes him. And you guys started off in the, like a bit down the credit scale in the old days, but now you do everything. So what I guess I wanted to ask you today is maybe just give us a range of your products. So, and where are you playing most heavily?
Yeah. Well, thank you for this opportunity. And I suppose we'll just focus mainly on the residential aspect.
Yeah. Well, no, commercial's okay too. Just give us a thumbnail
Great.
sketch. Yeah.
Certainly, first and foremost, Mark, we are still very, very broker-centric, right? So everything that we produce, everything that we try and do is with the broker in mind. Our home loan products range from the, very high LVR, super clean, right through to the people who have had, a one-off life event that's made it very difficult for them to get a home loan. So we still play in all those categories. We're certainly very heavily engaged with helping small business owners, both on the residential. Mark, you remember the old low doc?
Yep.
Right. So we're still alternate verification, very heavily in the residential side and also on the commercial side. And I think now more than ever, Australia's small businesses need all the help they can get. And we're certainly doing our little bit to make sure that the low doc product, both in commercial and residential, is available for our small business owners.
So
all are welcome.
Let's look at it. Let's look at low doc or alt doc, whatever they call them these days.
Yep.
I'm a small business owner. I'm a plumber, I'm an electrician, or I might have a coffee shop. And it's my business. I'm not paying myself a salary, but the business is doing okay. I haven't lodged a tax return. What chance have I got?
Well, you got a lot of chances. I'm assuming. Well, let's assume, Mark, that you're registered. You have an ABN.
Yep, I have. Yep,
you're registered. Yep, yeah. And whether we like it or not, as a business, you have to let our friends, the ATO, know what's going on. So whether you have four-quarter BAS, bank statements is another way of verifying that the business is viable. So it's not just on the tax returns, We will also even look at an accountant's declaration or an accountant's letter setting out that, this business is trading and trading solvently. Of course, let's have a look at it. But the big one, Mark, of course, always is, let's have a look at the bank statements, right? That paints 1,000 pictures.
Money in, money out.
Correct. That's it. That's right. If there's more going out than coming in, there might be a serviceability issue, Mark.
Yeah, I get that. So, but at the same time, normally a bank wouldn't touch it. So if you don't have that, even small business owners, they don't really want to look at it anyway. They're more interested in employees. But you guys are still playing that territory. And are you getting much inflow or demand, and particularly during you guys, you used to be Melbourne based, but I assume a big cluster of your clients come out of Victoria. What has been experienced over the last, say, 6 months during your lockdown period? You guys are still locked down, but what's that experience been like?
In fact, our volumes have grown, Mark. We went very heavily to promote the fact that we're here to help small business. We got BDMs in every state of Australia. In fact, we probably got more BDMs than most other lenders. We've got about 60 BDMs across Australia. There to help the brokers and educate the brokers that, there is a home for any type of loan. What we try and educate the broker to do is, before you say no, before you decide not to go ahead, just ring a BDM, discuss the deal, and let's find a way to do the deal, right? And there's all sorts of wonderful ways that we can be able to assess a deal, and we have been encouraging brokers, if someone says no, don't take that as a it'll never get done. Look for alternatives. Call your BDM and let's workshop the deal and let's talk about scenarios. And that's really worked for us.
So let's say I'm a BDM. How do I find? Let's say I'm a broker. And let's say I'm in Sydney. How do I find my BDM in Sydney? I mean, where do I go to? I mean, how do I get to the person?
Well, the person, you've got wonderful state managers. You've got your YBR and VOW BDMs, and all of those are in touch. We proactively chase and engage with as many aggregated BDMs as we can. That's our job. We have BDMs, our state managers have wonderful relationships with VOW and YBR staff, and we're connected at every level. So if a broker wants to know about Liberty, we also provide lists to VOW and YBR of all of our BDMs nationally. And conversely, we swap information. So VOW will come to us and say, here's our newly accredited brokers. We will contact them.
So
that way we make sure that we're in touch with them all the time.
So do you guys have scenarios on, like, let's say I'm a relatively new BDM, I might be a VOW broker or Aussie broker, it doesn't really matter for that matter. Do you guys put scenarios up on a website somewhere that I can go and check your scenarios which might be equivalent to the scenario I have sitting in front of me?
You can do that. We have a liberty.broker website. But you know what, Mark? If you were to go onto that scenario website, you'll be reading hundreds of scenarios trying to work out where does it fit. And so the library is there, but it's more efficient just to pick up the phone or drop us an email into scenarios@liberty.com.
Right.
And we have a scenarios team that will respond. We have online chats. We have you can actually ring our contact center and talk to somebody if you can't reach your BDM. So there's lots of ways that you can engage with Liberty, so on every level.
So I've always wondered, John, on one hand, the aggregator, let's say VOW or YBR, we would prefer to control the inquiry of the broker for a whole lot of reasons, but we prefer the broker to ring us, and then we'll ring you. But in terms of efficiency, what do you think? What are you finding? What have you found over the years results in having the most efficient relationship with Liberty and a broker? Is it where a broker has a good relationship with a BDM in Liberty, and he or she rings that Liberty person whenever they've got one of these types of borrowers who may well have got rejected from somewhere else for no other reason, not really about poor credit, just that the bank just doesn't want to lend it to the person for whatever reason? Is it better for that individual broker to go direct to Liberty, or is it better to the Liberty BDM, or is it better for the broker to go through the aggregator into the Liberty BDM? I mean, you must know who your shining stars are as brokers into the Liberty system. What do they do? How do they operate?
The best outcomes, Mark, have always been where there is a close relationship between broker and their BDMs.
Right. Their BDM being their internal BDM or your BDM?
Our BDM.
Right.
Because we have a very simple rule: our phones are never off, and we completely understand that if a broker's working on the weekend, right, they can pick up the phone, they can send us a text, they can email us, they can call us. We will answer the call and we will engage with the broker when they need us, and it gives us that certainty, that comfort, Mark. And we, of course, take the opportunity then to not only talk about the scenario, but take it as a little bit of an educational thing, to sort of say, well, try this, try that. And so the broker can immediately go back to their customer. They'll only call you when there's something in front of them. Why else would you call a BDM? So they'll call, they obviously want an answer, and they want an answer then. So for efficiency's sake, it's always better to have it one-on-one.
Yeah.
However, for group training, we will always go through the VOW and YBR BDMs.
Yeah, like your PD days, etc. So, let's say, and I think a lot of people don't realise this, but you guys don't only specialise in small business owners or self-employed, or someone with who might have had a life event. You specialise in prime stuff, your normal prime stuff. Let's say, one of the things today is to be able to get the deal off the street. I'm a broker. I want to get the deal off the street. I want to get my customer feeling as though they got a deal in front of them. And it could be just an 80% lend in Ashfield and Sydney, which is prime real estate. Someone who's been working for the government for the last 5 years, so they got their tax returns and they got everything else, group certificates, whole thing. Nice and stable, no glitches. But it might be a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
If I haven't been introduced to the BDM from Liberty, can I find the Liberty BDMs listed on a website somewhere? Like, can I? I can say to my client, I'm just going to go to the Liberty website, and I see that JohnMohnacheff's the local bloke BDM for me by district or whatever it happens to be, and I ring. There's a mobile number there. I ring it.
Yes,
that's it.
It is that simple. It is that simple, Mark. Yeah,
that's great. And your interest rates are for prime stuff. You in the money? Like where are you sitting?
Low twos.
Low twos. Okay, it's great. That's variable, I guess. And and in terms of if you're a plumber, self-employed, there's a additional risk for that borrower.
Yep.
Do you price for risk, or do you just set your prices?
We do.
We
do price for risk. And if it's a prime customer, you add on 50 points, and that's it. So you go from low twos to mid to higher twos.
Right.
For a low doc. So
you're not killing them.
No, and there's no need to. There's no need to. It really is rate for risk. So especially when you've seen the BAS, you've seen the bank statements. Come on, let's get the deal done, right? So, and that's the most important thing.
What let's say, John, I had someone in the other day. He's 60 odd years of age, 63 or something. Works for himself, but has got a pile of investments. But they're in. It's not necessarily super, but it's in public companies or entities that are maybe gold miners or actual businesses that are operating quite well in various parts of Australia. But he needs to borrow 82% to buy something. He has a 18% deposit on $1 million+ property, but he's in his 60s. He can service it in terms of his income, no problem.
Yes.
Clearly, the issue will be, from a bank. If it was a bank, the bank would be saying, "Well, yeah, but we can't give you a 30-year loan because, you're going to retire in 10 years' time." What happens? How does Liberty approach those sorts of deals?
Look, Mark, all we look at is we probably won't do a 30-year term either, but we would certainly entertain a 20-year term or 25-year term. Who knows? If he's low 60s, what we really look for is what is your exit strategy? How are you going to fulfill your obligations under the mortgage contract? And quite often they'll say, you know what, in 15 years' time, I'm going to be completely cashed up, blah, 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 blah. That's cool. If there is a clear and concise exit strategy, of course we'll entertain the deal. If the individual goes, look, I've got no idea,
that's a problem.
Not too many people will be too happy with that one, Mark.
Well, but I think what's important,
all the rules, won't we?
I think what's important for a broker to understand is before you take the deal to Liberty, or anyone for that matter, but before you take Liberty, for example, make sure your client has thought through what the exit strategy is. In other words, how will I repay the balance of principal? Correct. And if you're a good broker, you work out what the balance of principal will be, say, in 10 years' time or 15 years' time. Make sure that there are corresponding assets on the other side that the borrower can sell, which are outside of selling the property, selling the house, the property that he or she just bought. So, and I mean, this is a problem for brokers, is they don't think through what the lender will ask for. As soon as the lender realizes that you don't have that information, then they get nervous. Yes. But if you go to the lender and say, listen, I got all this stuff. The client's got all this stuff. Here it is, blah, blah, blah. Here's a list of assets. Here's some verification as to these assets existing, the values of them, etc. They paid this, he bought this asset for so much price, or it's listed on the stock exchange for that price. Be transparent and communicate the information that the lender needs, which is all pretty obvious and logical. And then take it from there. Where are you guys seeing most of your business flow at the moment, though? By state and by type, in type of borrower?
Well, 80% of our business is prime.
Yep. Prime being, but just hang on. Prime being employee style stuff, more than 1 year's tax returns, more than 1 year's employment.
Yep, and low doc, prime low doc.
Prime low doc, yep.
Prime low doc.
And what does prime low doc mean, John? What does prime low doc mean to you?
No impairments, right? So
okay.
A plumber, like you were saying, or cafe owners, I think we have to be careful in this environment because their cash flow has really been hit. But again, there's the SMIRL program, and we're heavily involved with that as well on the commercial side. But if you got 4-quarter bass, that's it. Let's have a look at it. And you've got no credit issues or anything, and you just want to buy a house or you want to buy an investment property, let's go. So
you're a prime low doc.
Yeah, prime low doc. Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
Great. Where's your business flow coming from, though? Like that's the type of business flow you're getting at the moment. That's where the most of the flow is.
We're very strong. The two strongest states are, of course, New South Wales and Victoria. Right. Demographics, population based. We actually follow the norms. Probably 25% New South Wales, 25% Victoria, maybe 30, 15 to 20 out of Queensland, and then WA and SA make up the balance. The other, 20-odd% there. So, and that's how it's always been for us. So very strong in the two big states. Yeah.
Great, and I think I understand the product that you're selling most at prime and prime low doc. So I think we just wrap it up now, John. And it's been great talking to you. But I just want to ask you a question.
Please.
What do you think about what do you see the future of mortgage brokers looking like?
Oh, look. If I was excited 20 years ago or 20 plus years ago when we were at Liberty, we have never ever once, walked away from being broker focused. Their opportunities are rosier than ever before, Mark, honestly, because the one thing that the direct to consumers cannot do is provide genuine choice. And that's what the broker does, right? You have a panel of 40 lenders, and if someone sits down and says, what do I do? The broker can say, what is your situation? Here are my 3 or 4 suggested lenders. And so, giving that choice, giving that professional advice. Because if you go to a bank, you're going to get their opinion and their opinion only and their product only, Mark. And I think the world's changed. I think people are more and more, becoming quite savvy in, I don't have to say that. I will explore my options. And sure, people can go on there and look through 15 lender websites. You know what? That's archaic as well. And this is why the broker market share is growing. Because, one call, sit down, talk it through, there you go. So very
great summary.
And not only that, Mark, but you've got commercial coming online. You've got asset finance. There's so many things that the brokers are starting to evolve through. And it's absolutely roses going forward, Mark.
I think that's right. And even when your member for Kooyong, which is the Federal Treasurer, has gone out there and said how important brokers are for giving people choice, that just sort of lays us out straight away. And if you're worried about getting, if brokers worry about getting nailed in the future, sometime next year, I think the review's on, when the Federal Treasurer, who's in charge of the review, says something like that, as long as he remains in power, so make sure you vote Liberal. If the Federal Treasurer says that, then I think you're in pretty good shape. That's my view on it anyway. So, John Mohnacheff, group sales for Liberty, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for your commitment to the broker world. And the Liberty business is a great business in itself, but it's a great product for consumers, and brokers should be selling more of it. So good on you, mate.
Mark, thank you very much for the opportunity, and all the best to the YBR of our group. Thanks you very much.
Talk soon.
See you,
Bye-bye.
mate.
Thanks, John.
Bye.
Bye-bye.